Hey there, Cancer. How are you doing? Happy new moon in Leo. So this is the start of the next 2-week forecast that I do every time there's a new moon or a full moon. And I'm going to be working from the new moon in Leo right the way through to the full moon in Aquarius on the 9th of August. Now, this is quite an exciting time, and there's definitely some huge energies to do with truth-telling, inner renewal, soul unmasking. To me, this energy right now is kind of shining a light on where things have been in the dark in terms of your life. This is a time when we're reviewing our sacred vows, what we've agreed to do. And I think this is also a time when we are daring ourselves to give ourselves another go, like to try something again, maybe something that was important to us that maybe failed once, but there is another opportunity to give it a go. And I think this is the time. I've got so many questions, but there are 3 that I would really like to pose to you at the start, and maybe I'll come back to it at the end. But these are the questions that I'm hoping to sort of answer throughout this forecast. And the first one is, what truth am I remembering beneath the noise of life? If you think about it, there's so many distractions around you at the moment. I know there's loads around me. So what truth are you remembering underneath it all? The second question is, like, what part of me is returning right now, softer, stronger, wiser? And the third question is, where have I been hiding, or where have you been hiding, and what happens when you stop hiding? So yeah, there's a lot to go on there. And I'm going to be looking through the moon phase and all the different sort of planetary alignments to get the answers to these questions. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name's Louisa Tanner Munson, so welcome to Feel Good Astrology. If you've been here before, thanks so much for coming back. Really appreciate that. So I'm just bringing up my slides now, and I just want to, before I get going, just say a quick thank you to everybody that has supported this channel, and also who continues to support this channel. I really, really appreciate you so much. So the first stop on this tour of the next 2 weeks is the moon phase we're in. We're in a waxing moon phase. We're going from the darkness of the new moon right the way through to the full illumination, where things, you can't fail but to see everything around you at the time of the full moon, because everything is just so bright. So we're starting off in the new moon, and the new moon doesn't give off any light. This is a time when we're not meant to be influenced externally. We are influencing ourselves. We're digging deep into ourselves, and we are getting our own wisdom. We are tuning in, and we're recognizing what we're feeling. And from that, we might be putting in some kind of intention. We might be focusing on something that's important to us that we want to start manifesting. It's a great time to start growing, because obviously this is a waxing moon phase, which is all about growth. And the moon appears to grow bigger and bigger and bigger every day. Of course, it's not, but that's how it appears to be. And you'll get to the first quarter 1 week in, and you'll see there it's half dark and half light. And to me, this is an indication that we are at a crossroads. This is a point where, we're not just getting our information from ourselves. It's now time to start discerning things around us, and taking in the light from around us. So I think, for instance, if you'd set yourself a goal around the time of the new moon, and you've been feeling into it, you'd been enjoying it, maybe writing about it, dreaming about it, slowly but surely the light from the outside starts coming in, and you get these little nudges, these little cosmic messages. Maybe there's an animal that you see and you think, oh wow, I wonder what the meaning of that animal is. There's all sorts of things that are nudging you to take action. And around the first quarter phase, we are definitely nudged, big nudge often, to move forwards and to take action. And then in this last week, as the light gets stronger and stronger and stronger, I really think that the more aligned you are, the more quickly the best opportunities are coming in. And if you find that it's just loads of stuff is coming in, it's because maybe you haven't been defined enough in this first part of the waxing moon phase. So it's worth watching that and reflecting on that around the time of the full moon. When we have a look at this on a diary, you'll see here that I've highlighted these 3 squares, because this is the new moon, the first quarter, and this is the full moon. And each of these has got something in an alignment with Saturn and Neptune. And so what I want to do in this particular forecast for you is to examine how Saturn and Neptune are working in your chart. Now, they're in the sign of Aries, and obviously you're a Cancer, and the sign of Aries is in a square. It's like 90 degrees to the Cancer energy, and so I think this is likely to be quite challenging. The Saturn and Neptune position is definitely bringing up some big themes, most notably in the area of your career and your standing in the world, and how you are visible, how you're seen and experienced. So there's definitely a lot of stuff coming up about that. On the 1st of August, Venus is in a square to Saturn and Neptune. And then at the time of the full moon, we've got Mars in an opposition to Saturn and Neptune. So Saturn and Neptune are a huge theme throughout this whole 2 weeks. So I will pay quite a bit of attention to them. Other things that I think are worth mentioning is we've got 2 planet changes in this fortnight ahead. Venus is going into Cancer. She's definitely more happy in Cancer, I would say, than in the sign of Gemini. It feels like, our connections maybe have a little bit more substance, or a little bit more emotion, or a little bit more feeling and history and connection. I think that's quite helpful. Also on the 31st and into the 1st, this is quite a busy time actually, from the 31st to the 1st. There's also Mercury Cazimi, where Mercury is, I think, supersized. He feels much stronger for about 8 hours between the 31st and the 1st. And the exact times you can find out on, there's loads of different ways. I'll probably post it on my community, but to be honest, this Mercury Cazimi, I think, is always a great time if there's something on your mind to just kind of write it down around the time of the Cazimi, and wait for some kind of intel or dream state to come in. Remember, Mercury's retrograde as well. So this is a retrograde Cazimi. This is an inward sense of enlightenment, this inward sense of genius. I think you'll be able to solve your problems. And then we've got Mars going into Libra on the 6th. Mars isn't very happy in Libra, but he's definitely making a bit of a splash, because on the 9th, not only is he in an exact opposition to Saturn and Neptune, but he's also in a trine to Uranus. So Mars is absolutely activating everything in this 2-week process. So again, it's not just Saturn and Neptune I need to pay attention to, but also Mars. So this is how it looks in terms of your chart. This is a sort of Cancer energy. This is Cancer in the 1st house, and I've set up this chart to reflect Cancer being the most important planet here. You'll see the new moon is in this 2nd house part of your chart, which is all about money and opportunities to receive. It's also, I think, a lot about your self-esteem, and because we've got Mercury retrograde going through here as well, I really do think that this particular moment in time is very, very helpful for you to understand what's going on in terms of your career, your aspirations, the feeling of what you want to create in the world, and also how much money you want to receive. I mean, how much money do you need to survive right now? And, are you able to do it with the current career or the trajectory that you're on? If not, what needs to change? And, this new moon here in particular, in a lovely trine to Saturn and Neptune, is really going to help that, because like I said, Saturn and Neptune are at the top of your chart. They are really here to transform how you see your career, how you see your involvement in the world. I think they're here to help you step up quite considerably. And Mercury retrograde, I think, may well be here to help you reaffirm your new goals, and to really check if your new goals feel authentic and whether they are congruent with who you really are. And the more congruent and connected your goals are to the real you, I think the easier it's going to be to manifest, for sure. So yeah, I think the new moon is going to get you off to a really beautiful new start. One thing that might be holding you back is the sort of resistance that Pluto is offering. Pluto, I think, here can show family money, money from a partner if you're in a relationship. It can also show where you might be bound to particular situations, for instance, with a mortgage, a loan, taxes, and things like that. So you may well find that it feels like you want to break free and get this sense of your own sovereignty in terms of how you're earning your money. And yet it feels like there are other people who maybe are stakeholders in your ability to earn. And so maybe that's not making you feel very free. I still recommend, and obviously I'm not giving you financial advice here, but I still recommend in terms of how you might choose to feel into the energy of this new moon. This new moon is about you honoring your instincts and recognizing when something is external to you, saying, you must do this. You know, anywhere where you're feeling this discomfort and this heaviness from the outside kind of determining where you're putting your energy, that to me is a huge sign that there's something that's not in alignment. So anywhere where it feels heavy is because something hasn't been resolved yet. And when you start to feel light, you've got to the truth of it. And so I really obviously wish you the lightness of that. Now, as we go through this particular forecast, at the end of this, the full moon is again across this 2nd and 8th house. This time Pluto is in an opposition to Mercury retrograde. So this energy between the 2nd house of what you're earning and how you feel about yourself and your self-esteem is definitely stirred up by those feelings of an imposition coming externally, and also the judgments that you feel might be levied on you. When the moon goes through this part of your chart, it can be a time when we feel very picked on, scapegoated, blackmailed, guilted. It can be a time when we really don't feel very free. And it can also lead us to sort of hibernating a little bit and kind of disassociating ourselves from people that are, I think, heavy in their energy. Whatever is going on around that time, I would still recommend that you try not to take it too personally. The 8th house can be super personal. And some of the judgments that people can have about you in the 8th house can be so judgmental that it just feels like you have to take those opinions on. And my advice here is, it's just somebody's personal opinion. We all have opinions, just like we have buttholes. Everybody has an opinion, and it's just information. It's neither true, it's neither false. It's just an opinion. So please don't take things too personally. Err on the side of your own esteem. Err on the side of you are on team you. You're not on team, I'm going to make it easy for everybody else. I don't think you should make it hard for anyone else, but you should make it easier for yourself first. That's really, really vital. Now, at the time of this full moon, where, yes, you definitely need to be helping yourself, Mars is right at the bottom of your chart in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. And so to me, this looks like a bit of friction between factions at home and your aims and what you're hoping for in terms of your career. Now, if you're really wanting to be at home and turn things around at home and be busy at home and just to enjoy being more at home with your family, to me, it just feels like you're kind of pulling your safety net a little bit closer around you. If that's what you're wanting, you might find around this time that Saturn and Neptune are kind of forcing you out of your comfort. And it feels like, just want to be here, but I have to earn money and I've got to get out here. And it just doesn't feel very safe. So, around the time of the full moon, if you can work from home or find a way to maybe take a couple of days off, I really advise that you create safety for yourself first, because things are moving very, very fast. Now, interesting, Mars is in a trine with Uranus and Pluto. And so whatever you're deciding to do and work on, I think is going to move super fast. You don't necessarily have to be in the office to do that. Now, if you are really in this place of, yes, I'm transforming my career, I'm really on the way up, I'm really loving this, then you might find that at the time of the full moon, it feels like somebody from home is really pulling you back and is really angry and is kind of resentful and is saying, why are you doing this? What about me? And again, I refer you back to here. It's important to get into your own space and make you comfortable first, not everyone else. Your job isn't to make everyone comfortable, unless it actually is your job. But even then, I still think you shouldn't do it unless you are comfortable. So Saturn and Neptune here could be part of a really fundamentally shifting part in your life, where you're about to assume greater status, you're about to step out, you're about to have faith in yourself, even though it's quite a confusing world. Like, I think it's a miracle actually that people can leave school, leave college, and know where they fit in, because there are so many different spaces now where we can exist, and so many contra narratives about everything. How can anyone have a clue about what the world is and what the world isn't? I think it's quite confusing. And so Neptune at the top here is a real indication of where these sort of confusing energies are, and yet Saturn is trying to be stable. What I really see is you're almost like it's quite a good analogy, because I'm using the ocean. I think Saturn is like a lighthouse. It's kind of lighting the way, and Neptune is these choppy seas. And so if there's something about your career that is shining the way to help people feel safe and secure during quite choppy and turbulent times, then I think your career will absolutely get off in a really strong way. I think it's really, really helpful. I want to talk about the first just for a few moments before I end this recording. And this is the changing point. So I've spoken a bit about the new moon and what you might expect around the time of the full moon as themes. But around the 31st to the 1st, as Venus is coming into the sign of Cancer, which is your first house. So in the first week, Venus is very much in the 12th house. It is quite a quiet time. It's a time when you're not normally pushing yourself forwards. When she goes into the sign of Cancer, she's going to be moving automatically, closer to Jupiter. This is really helpful because Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics. And in the first house, to me, this is an indication that you can do no wrong, actually. And that as you're coming up to the full moon, there is this sense of luck, loads of luck. In fact, it just feels like a really lucky time for you, and a time of great benefit, and that if you're making clear decisions based on your heart, and, like the soul, like if you're listening to your soul, like with the questions that I was asking, what part of me is returning softer, stronger, wiser? This softer, stronger, wiser is here. This is the Jupiter and Gemini, Jupiter and Venus in the sign of Cancer in your first house. This is you becoming stronger, softer, and wiser. This is like a hidden part of you that's returning. It was in plain sight all along. I think you just forgot that you had it. So I think around this time you are reminded of your softness and your sweetness. I really hope you do remember it. And the question, where have I been hiding and what happens when I stop? Well, I actually think your ability to be creative, your ability to be really intuitive, and like your deep sense of intuition and knowing, I think you have really hidden. And I think that's being revealed right now with Uranus going through your 12th house. I think once you stop hiding your real knowing, your sense of knowing, and you start releasing that, and that sweet sort of innocence and that sense of generosity that you have, I think that will really start to sort of transform your life quite beautifully. In terms of the truth, what is the truth that I'm remembering beneath the noise? Again, actually, I'm going to come back to here. This Jupiter and Venus here is really tuning you into the sweetness of you, not really tuning you into your second house, not really tuning you into the money and the force and the career. Actually, I think the thing that you're remembering behind it all is your mission of why you're here. And I think it's to absolutely be supportive, absolutely to be kind, absolutely to be that kind of lighthouse in these choppy times. I think you are meant to be here to protect in some way and to help, and to nurture and to really release your inner mummy or daddy, to really, really help people. So actually, I think all of this is encompassed here. So there's so much here to unpack, in fact, because the alignments between the planets are making so many different sort of connections and shapes. And so in this particular forecast, I'm actually going to share the love and the parts of my love forecast that I do for my members, and also parts of my money and ambition forecast that I do for my members. So if you want to watch that, all you need to do is watch this next video right now, and it will give you some extra information for you for the next few weeks. Anyway, lots of love. Bye for now.